Hi guys, happy Friday. It isn't Friday. Oh my gosh. What? That's wishful thinking. That was a Freudian slip if I ever heard one. I wish it was Friday. What day is it? It's only Tuesday. Darn. It's only Tuesday. Hold on. I'll give you guys a little.
Hopefully that's okay. I can't believe I said that. That's so funny because, it used to be that we only saw each other here, right, on Friday. So it's just old habit for me to be like, Happy Friday. It certainly is only Tuesday. Oh my goodness. Hi, Joan. Hi, Live Wires. Hi, Miss Stacia. Oh gosh, guys. What a funny way to start today. Oh, that cracks me up. So, how are we doing for it to only be a Tuesday? I don't know where my head's at. Good morning, Patty. How are you doing? You're welcome for the wiggle. Fortunately, there was only like maybe 2 or 3 people here that heard me say that, so I don't have to feel too embarrassed, but that was funny. That was funny. Hi, Rosanna. How you doing? All right, you guys. So everybody's coming on in. It's so good to see you guys. So as you may imagine from my wishing it was Friday slip there, guys, it has been the past 7 days, and I say week. It's only Tuesday, but like a week as in 7 days. The past week has just been, I don't know. I'm just glad that I'm here. I'm glad that we can just chill out. Oh man, I wish that I could tell you guys the things that have been going on around here, but gosh, it would take me forever. So I will spare you the details. Just know that, gosh, the past few days have just been hectic, and I'm so glad that like they're behind me. They're in the past. I'm still working through some of the situations as it may be, but all is well. All is well. So let's chat for just a second before we get started with today's project about the group. So, excuse me, you guys. Got a little something in my throat here. So, if you guys are not part of the Sarah Ellis Designs Community Facebook group, please come and join our group. We absolutely would love to have you. Hi, Tracy. Guys, say hello to Tracy. Tracy's here. Tracy is one of our dear friends from TierraCast. So everybody say hey. Not to put you on the spot, Tracy. Sorry about that. Oh, goodness. But if you guys have not joined the Sarah Ellis Designs Facebook group, please come and take a second and sign up for not just the Facebook group itself, but for the Sarah Ellis Designs community email list. And I have not sent out an email this week. Been kind of trying to figure out what's going on with MailChimp because the initial emails that I sent out, there's been a couple of problems with those, but I think I'm getting it figured out. So hopefully all will be well. I'll be sending you guys a test email coming up soon. So just be on the lookout for that. So if you've not signed up for that yet, please do so. All of that information is pinned within the group. It's also pinned on the Sarah Ellis Designs business page as well. Something else in the group. So yesterday I had put a poll up asking you guys what kind of prices you would be looking at, what you would be willing to spend basically if you were going to sign up for some sort of kit that I put together. And I just kind of want to touch on that just a second. Like I said, before we get started, I just want to touch on that. Number one, if you're not part of the group, you're missing those polls, and your opinion is valued for sure. So please come and do that. Number two, everybody who answered the poll, and then those of you who also added comments below, letting me know what your thoughts were and your opinions are, and so many good ideas. I just want to say thank you to all of you for taking time out of your day to respond to that and to share your ideas and your thoughts about it with me. I really, really appreciate that, because at the end of the day, I want to give you guys what it is that you want. And if a kit was off the table and I had no interest in it, then obviously I wouldn't want to push that on you guys. So I appreciate all of the support and all of the feedback that I got from that. I'm going to be kind of working towards that. That's not going to happen anytime soon. But when I released the brand new Facebook Live schedule, one of the things that was on the Facebook Live schedule was Make It With Me Mondays. And so far, the past 2 Mondays, people have asked, is there a Facebook Live? And that says coming soon, because that's kind of where I was thinking of putting those. If we did a kit, number one, I wouldn't call it a monthly kit because people kind of get bent out of shape about that, but it would happen once a month. So, I mean, you know, put that together however you want to. But it would be one of those Mondays, one Monday a month, where we would actually come together just like we normally do for our Facebook Lives and put together what is in that kit. So again, I haven't like nailed down the details of that, but that was something that I was just kind of thinking through and wanted your opinion about. So I appreciate that, guys. Just stay tuned for all of that. All right, so for today's project, we are putting together a really beautiful, beautiful necklace, and this necklace is going to be featuring some of the TierraCast components. Guys, I'm a huge, huge fan of TierraCast, and I have been fortunate enough to get to know some of the wonderful people at TierraCast through working with Beadalon and getting to see them at shows and things like that. So not only do they have like the most amazing products ever, but they're super, super sweet people. And like that goes a long way with me, right? I generally will stay away from businesses, even if I love their products, but they're just not nice. You know what I'm saying? Like I love to deal and work with people who are just genuinely good people. And that can be definitely said about our friends at TierraCast. I'm obsessed with TierraCast products, and let me pull it up on my computer here. You guys, there are a lot of different places where you can grab TierraCast products. If you just type it in, like a world of goodies is going to come up. One of my favorite collections, and I think that might be one of my draws to TierraCast, is that they release things in collections, which I absolutely adore because there's something for everybody's taste. But one of the collections that I absolutely love, well, actually there's two. The Caravan collection, I'm completely obsessed with. I only have a few pieces of it, but I love it. The one that we're using today is the Dulce Vida or Dulce Vida. I'm not really sure about the pronunciation there, but it's absolutely gorgeous. If you love the look of pewter and kind of antique copper, that's what these feel like. They're not shiny, sparkly, like brand new. They have this just beautiful kind of earthy, antique-y kind of feel to them. So I've got a little collection of those pieces, and I always try to find ways to incorporate those into my jewelry design. So we're going to incorporate some of those into today's project. We've been talking about last week, and well, today's the first day I've seen you guys, but last week we were talking about what is coming up for 2021 as far as jewelry and trends and things of that nature. Pearls, of course, is going to be at the top of the list. And since we did our pearl projects last week, some questions have come up about pearls in general. Does that mean pearls in like the natural colors of like creams and whites? And the answer to that is no, it's not going to make any difference, because some people are not really into that kind of creamy pearl color. It's just a little too dressy for them. So today we're going to be using some of these dark colored pearls. These are dark gray, and honestly in person they almost have like a purple tone to them. We're not going to use very many of these. Again, we talked last week about the cards and how I like to buy things that have more than one strand, and then how I like to store those. If you guys missed that Facebook Live, go back and watch Friday's Facebook Live, because we did talk about like how to store your beads and just some general business information, as well as some fun projects. But you are only going to need about 12 pearls for this project, so you're going to have leftovers, which you guys know I'm a huge, huge fan of. I got these at Michael's. You can get pearls anywhere, but these are just freshwater pearls, and they have that beautiful kind of different color to them. I like to find pearls that have different colors to them, but are not like crazy, insane, unnatural colors. I still like to kind of keep it, you know, I don't know. That's just my opinion. But I feel like this color pearl works really, really well with the TierraCast components that we're going to be using. And I'm also using a couple of Swarovski drops that I just happen to have in my stash. I'm not really sure what the colors of these are. I wish that I did. It's just 3 drops that I had that have just been sitting around, so I wanted to use those with our project today as well. As far as wire is concerned, we're using artistic wire, which you guys know I normally use German style wire for most of my projects, but I'm using artistic wire today because I'm really kind of looking for a certain color. And that's the beauty of artistic wire, right? It comes in such a wide variety of colors. There are 2 colors that are going to work perfectly with our project today. So I'm using tinned copper. And this is very, very different color from the tarnish, or I'm sorry, yeah, the tarnish resistant silver or just the silver color in general. You can see that difference in the color. This is more of the color of the components, a little more shiny than the components, but definitely more than this silver color. So we're going to be using the tinned copper. I'm using 20 gauge for that. And then I'm also using some gray, which is a beautiful, beautiful color that kind of just disappears into the design, but also kind of stays in that whole colorway. It's just gray artistic wire, and I'm using 24 gauge for this, okay? As far as the size of the pearls is concerned, somebody just asked a second ago. You know what? I'm not entirely sure, but let me grab my little doodad here, and I will find out for you, like just kind of a general. So these look to be around 8 to 9 millimeter size pearls, which is a good balance with the drop that I'm using. So just kind of keep that in mind. If you want to use smaller pearls, you absolutely can, but you might want to use maybe a smaller drop, or, you know, vice versa. If you're going to use a bigger drop, you might want to use a bigger pearl. So that's all of that information, you guys. Okay, so let's get down to the project today, and I'm going to show you the TierraCast components first and foremost, because I want to just kind of spend a little bit of time showing those off, and then we're going to get into the necklace project. The necklace project is not hard, okay? The only thing that we're really going to be focusing on today is just some wire wrapping. We're going to make kind of like rosary style chain where we wire wrap the pearls together, and that's basically it. We are going to do a little wire wrapping on the drops, and that's all. So hopefully this is going to be accessible to everybody. All right, guys, let's get down to it, shall we?
Anita, better late than never, my friend. I'm glad that you are here. All right, let me wiggle the microphone.
All right, so let's take a look here. Let me move all this stuff out of the way and try to brighten up our space here just a little bit. All right, so let's take a look. First, let's look at the drops. Again, I don't even know what you would call this color, but it's like brown and gray and purple. I don't know if it looks any different on this white background or not. I'm not real sure that it makes much of a difference. But really, really beautiful. I just don't know what the name of this is, and I've had it in my collection for a while. I've got that one, and then I have 2 smaller ones, and they were just kind of sitting waiting on the perfect project, and I thought this whole color combination was perfect for these. So that's the Swarovski that we're going to be using, but from your own stash you can use, you know, whatever kind of beautiful drops you've got. All right, let's take a look at some of the components here. So one of my favorite things that TierraCast does is they have ring components, which I absolutely love. You guys know I'm really big on taking chain apart and just using links from chain, particularly bigger pieces of chain. But when you get TierraCast stuff, you don't have to take the chain apart. You can just get the component itself, and the components are so gorgeous. Okay, first of all, look at that pewter color. Really, really gorgeous. They are 2-sided, so whichever side you use, you're still going to get that beautiful kind of pattern to it. If you wanted to add patina to this, you could, you guys, but I so wouldn't. That's just my opinion. Like, why? It's so beautiful as it is. Like, why would you alter the color? But just for those of you who ask, because a lot of people ask, you absolutely could add patina to this if you wanted to, but it's really beautiful. So I'm using the antique pewter color, okay? I've got one of these larger rings, and then I have the smaller rings to use. And then I've got this little connector guy that you can use in a lot of different ways. You can use this, you know, as a side to side for a bracelet if you wanted to, or a drop for earrings. We are going to use this as a drop for our focal. Right? Wanda says TierraCast components are such high quality. I agree. Like, there's nothing else in the industry like it. I can't think of anything else that is comparative to it. So And I usually can pick out TierraCast like from a mile away. You know what I'm saying? Like if I see a piece of jewelry that has TierraCast in it, I recognize it immediately. All right, so then there are also these little guys, and this is not the entire collection, just so you know. The Dulce Vida, I'm not sure how you say it, collection has so much more to it, but these are just some of the pieces that I picked out. And again, you can see you can use them as charms or whatever you want to. You can use them as focals, but they're double-sided, which I really, really love. So you just pick the side that you like the best, but know that as you're wearing your jewelry and the movement is happening, you're still going to get both sides of a gorgeous pattern, right? See, that one's got, and they have such different personalities, right? The front and the back is usually like they're in the same kind of family, but they have a different personality. So feeling a little spunky, feeling a little feminine. You know what I'm saying? You've got a little bit of both. I love that. Okay, so these are the components that we're going to be using. If you do not have TierraCast components, you should get some. And number two, you can find things that are in your own stash that are going to work with this project. And I would definitely take some links from some chain. I love links, rings. So I always have these in my stash, whether it's these or the hammered ones that TierraCast has. Just a really good thing to have on hand. Just if you're looking for things to, get your stash going. All right. So one of the first things that we're going to do is we are going to put together a little chain section of these beautiful pearls. And you can see that pearl color, I don't know that it's coming across on camera nearly as pretty as it is in person, but it's like purple, gray, brown, gold, bronze. Like the color here, I can't even like just pinpoint one color, even though they're called gray. This is going to work with a lot of different metals is pretty much the point that I'm trying to make here. You're going to be able to use this color pearl with a lot of different things. But we need 6 of these. I already did 1 of these so that we weren't here forever. So we're going to take 6 of our pearls, and then we're going to take 6 pieces of that 24 gauge gray colored artistic wire to create our little rosary style chain. And all that means is that it's just wire wrapped directly to each other instead of having a jump ring in between. Okay. And you're just going to need short little pieces. 3.5 to 4 inch pieces of your artistic wire is going to be plenty for this. Okay, so let's get started with that. We'll put this part together and then we'll work on putting the entire project together. I think you guys are going to really, really love the finished piece with this one. Okay, so the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start a wire wrapped loop. So I've got my piece of wire here, 24 gauge. I got my chain nose pliers. I'm going to come down on that wire about 1.5 inches, and I'm going to give that wire a sharp bend. Okay, so we've got that backwards 7 shape. Now I'm going to come in with my round nose pliers. I'm placing that so that the wire is running between the barrel of the pliers, and I've got a clear top and a bottom with the barrel of the pliers. Okay, I'm going to take the wire and I'm going to go up and over the top barrel of the pliers. Notice I'm not moving the tool, I'm only moving the wire. Okay, but now in order to get the wire over here, I need to move this bottom barrel out of the way. So I am just going to roll the pliers out of the way. So what was the bottom is now the top, and I can easily take that wire over to the other side to create our closed loop. Okay, I'm going to put that back on the pliers, and then we are just going to wire wrap underneath that loop with that little short end of wire, and we're going to wrap about 3 times and trim off the tail. So basically we've just created a wrapped loop eye pin. And guys, if you want to do regular loops, just simple loops instead of wrapped loops, as always, unless it's a special case and I tell you otherwise, you certainly can do that instead. Okay, so there is our wrapped loop. We're going to thread on one of our pearls, and then we're just going to repeat that step on the other end to create a matching wrapped loop. And that's really all that has to be done on the very first bead in your chain. It's the second bead where we do have to kind of change it up just a little bit. So we're just following the same steps to create our loop and just wire wrapping. Okay, so we've got a wrapped loop on either end, And we are going to trim off the tail. Okay, and notice I'm trying to trim as close to the wraps as possible. Okay, I don't want any of that wire sticking out. Thank you, Ramona. I've done a lot of wrapped loops in my time. All right, now we're going to start this one the exact same way. So I've got a second piece here of my 24 gauge wire, and I'm going to go ahead and start that wrapped loop. But before we do the actual wraps, we're going to attach this to that bead that we just wrapped. Okay, so up and over, roll the pliers out of the way and take that wire on over to the other side. But now before we do the wire wrapping, we want to take the tail end of this wire and we want to stick it through one of the loops on either end. It doesn't matter which one, just pick one, guide that wire through, and you just want to kind of snap those two together. And because this is 24 gauge wire, that's not going to be much of a struggle at all. It's gonna snap together really, really easily. Okay. When I do this kind of chain though, I do like to use my bent chain nose pliers to grab the loops and hold that loop so that it maintains its shape. And the curved pliers here are really going to stay out of the way, right? I don't have to worry that like I'm going to poke myself or I have to wrap around them or anything. The curved chain nose pliers really makes a huge difference. So if you've not used those, I definitely recommend giving them a try. So I'm just holding on to that loop while I create my wrapped loop. And then when I let go, you can see it didn't do anything. It didn't change the structure of that loop at all. Now we're just going to trim off. Okay, and we have these two linked together. We didn't need a jump ring, and we're just going to thread on another pearl. Vicky says the second wraparound is always the most challenging. I would agree as well. I definitely would agree. All right, now again, we're following just the same steps to create a wrapped loop here. Okay, and if you guys are not used to using 24 gauge wire for wrapped loops, I definitely recommend giving it a try. For one thing, when you're using pearls, particularly when you're using natural pearls, freshwater pearls, a lot of times the hole that is drilled in those is much smaller than your regular glass pearls or just glass beads in general. And so the 24 gauge wire, if you're wanting to do wrapped loops, or any kind of wire wrapping with your pearls, is really the better size than trying to bead ream each one of your pearls and get that 22 gauge wire through there. Okay, it's just not worth the fight in my opinion. So I definitely recommend giving that a try with your pearls. It makes it also a little less heavy if that's an issue for you. All right, so we've got 2 pearls, we've got 4 more to go. Okay. And I mentioned before, this is not a hard design by any means. This is, you know, it's just a good practice in your wrapped loops. So for this to be Technique Tuesday, this is definitely the technique for today, is just your wire wrapped loops. Wanda says, I remember the first time I linked 2 wrapped beads together with the snap, it felt like I'd done a magic trick. I agree. I agree. You feel so accomplished, like, wow, look at what I just did. That's funny. All right, so we've got our loop started. Okay, we're ready for another pearl, but we want to take the tail end of that and slide it through the loop on one of the pearls, and you see just how easy, right? Coming in with the bent chain nose pliers, really hold on to that loop and wire wrap. Okay, I've got about 3 good wire wraps, and then I'm going to trim off the tail. Okay, and now we're ready for the next pearl. Marianne says, any recommendations on where to get freshwater pearls? She needs 3 to 4 millimeter rice pearls and she's having a hard time. So I don't have any really good recommendations right now. I've just been kind of buying a ton of stuff from Michaels because I'm doing the Michaels virtual classes. So Michaels has really been getting a lot of my bead budget these days. But guys, I'm sure that some of you have got you've got a pearl hookup out there. Somebody would be willing to share and let us know, because we really are all going to be looking for a pearl hookup, if you will, for spring and summer. I have a feeling that, you know, pearls, we're going to be purchasing a lot of pearls. All right, somebody asked how long were the wire sections. So my wire sections are always a little bit on the long side. I normally cut about a 4-inch piece of wire. That's a little bit more than what you need. You have to think about if you were doing this with your own like prefab head pins and eye pins, they're usually about 2.5 to 3 inches long, and that's really all you're gonna need. But I definitely always cut more than I need to when it comes to wrapped loops, just in case I have like an issue and I need to trim some of it off. And also because my eyeball measuring skills are just terrible. But you're only going to need about 3 inches of this wire to create your wrapped loops, and then you won't have a lot of waste. Okay, so we've got 3 done. We're going to work on the last 3 here. So up and over, roll the pliers, take that wire over to the other side. Okay, and hi, Deborah. We're going to take the tail end of that wire, thread it through the loop on the last pearl that we added. And then again, I'm coming in with the chain nose pliers. Whoops. Grab that loop and hold everything out of the way and wire wrap. Okay. So there are our 3 wraps. Okay, and another pearl. We're getting close to the end here, so you don't have to do a really long section, but I feel like you've got 6 on one side and 6 on the other side, so you're going to do 12 total, which I've already done half of mine just to save some time for you guys. But it's, even though it's only 12, I say only, some of you are very daunted by 12. Oh my gosh, I have to wire wrap 12 beads. That's a lot. So it's either really good practice for those of you who are already or who are ready to practice wrapped loops, or it's just going to be a really good refresher for those of you who are already really good at them, right? See how fast you can do them. Remember when we talked about the world record and seeing if that was a thing? I still think we should do that. I do. I really do. We'll make our name for ourselves, Live Wires. All right. So Anita says, how does one know pearls are real? And when, hold on. How does one know pearls are real and when they are freshwater pearls? So let's talk about that a little bit, because I'm not an expert about this, but I can just tell you kind of what my thoughts are on it. So pearls, if you are getting real pearls, first and foremost, okay, freshwater pearls are relatively inexpensive, and they are usually in a number of different shapes. They are very expensive if they are perfectly round. So if you see pearls and you're buying an individual pearl and that individual pearl is costing you a couple of $100s and it's perfectly round, it's probably real. At that point, you probably do want to consult a jeweler. That would definitely be my, and that's going to be freshwater and saltwater pearls. Because round pearls are so unbelievably rare. That's why back in the day, you know, people would get, like, for an anniversary, people would get a single pearl and they would save up their pearls, you know, over all their anniversaries, and eventually they would have enough to have those pearls hand knotted by a pearl knotter that charges an arm and a leg, and they would have a real pearl necklace. So when we're talking about real pearls that are perfectly round, you're going to think in price ranges of like diamonds, okay? When we're talking about freshwater inexpensive pearls, you're not ever going to see them round, perfectly round. They all have their own little personality. They all have their own little bumps and grooves and ridges, and can be drilled in different directions. And most of the time, that's what you're going to find. So you can see these are definitely real pearls, but they're not round, right? They have that very natural shape to them, right? They're definitely not a round. Let's see. Let me see if I've got something here that I can show you. I don't have a glass pearl. So the one way to tell the main difference is glass pearls are normally acrylic on the inside or glass. All of them call themselves glass. That doesn't necessarily make that so. And they have been painted. And a lot of times you can notice that at the opening of the hole, you can see this one has a tiny, tiny drill, and it doesn't have that overlap of color on it. You know, like a little flap that when they spray the pearls the color, it overlaps the hole and you have to like bust through it with your wire. That's glass pearls are like that. Even check pearls are like that. Again, just glass pearls, but they have been, you know, they've been painted, and it's when you look at them up close, you can tell. So that probably wasn't like the most wonderful information in the world, but I hope that I've given you at least a little bit of insight. You really have to be the kind of person who loves the, you know, the dimples and the curves and the ridges and all of that of the freshwater pearl. Some people do not like that at all and want a perfectly round bead, and that's okay. Glass pearls are going to be the way to go for you. But if you like that natural look, you know, freshwater pearls have more personality, in my opinion, than saltwater pearls do. And again, you're just not going to find saltwater pearls in your big box stores like, you know, Hobby Lobby or Michael's. That's just not going to happen. So I hope I helped a little. I am no expert, but I got to tell you, I know somebody who is pretty darn close. If you are interested in learning more about pearls, Wyatt White is an expert pearl knotter, and that is you know, I don't know, you don't just come by that title by giving it to yourself. And because of that, he has a lot of information about different kinds of pearls. And so, you know, if you've got a question, reach out and ask him, because I know he would be more than happy to answer any question you've got about pearls for sure. All right, so there's our 6 pearls. And, oh, interesting. I've never heard that before. A couple of people are saying that if you rub it against your teeth, you can tell if it's, let's see. If it's smooth, it's fake. If it's sandy, it's real. That's interesting. That is really, really interesting. I have never heard that before. Crazy. I don't think I've ever seen anybody like at a bead show rubbing pearls up against their teeth, but I would imagine that's probably accurate. All right, so we have our 2 strands. So this is really going to make up pretty much the length of our necklace, and they're beautiful all by themselves. So we didn't have to add any like, you know, we didn't have to add any bead caps or anything to them. They're going to stand out and be beautiful on their own. I mean, I guess you can if you want to. There's absolutely no reason why you can't. I just kind of like the look of the pearl just as it is. And that gray is just the perfect, like, you're aware that there's metal there, but it's not shiny and bright and in your face. So it's really just kind of disappearing into the design, and the pearls can be the star of the show. So let me just kind of lay this out for you so you can see where we're going next. So our necklace is going to have our little round TierraCast component in the center. Okay, that's where we're going to attach our 2 strands, and then we are going to attach, we're going to wire wrap our drop, and we're also going to attach some of our smaller components as well. So I'm actually going to hang our drop from this guy. Let me kind of move a little bit. Just want to show you where we're going before we start like putting all of this together, so you don't get super confused. Okay, this guy I'm going to hang over here. You can see where he's already got a couple of jump rings on him, and then we're going to put a smaller drop here. Now I still have other pieces left over. These are going to go up at the top of our pearls, and I'll show you how to do that in just a few minutes, but let's start down here at the bottom. Okay, so I'm just going to sit these to the side. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to wire wrap our drop, and I'm going to do kind of a messy, like this, he doesn't have to be super beautiful. Just however you want to wrap him, but I am using the tinned copper wire instead of that bright silver, just because it matches. Look how beautifully that matches with that that antique pewter color. I feel like that was just the perfect complementary color of wire for that. So I'm going to take about a 5-inch section. Again, this is way more wire than you actually are going to need. And I'm going to take my drop. You can see it's drilled in the face. It's drilled in the front up here at the top. So it's not drilled side to side. I'm going to bring that sort of to the middle here. It doesn't have to be the exact middle. Okay. I'm going to take those 2 wires. Let me move all this stuff out of the way so that you can really kind of focus on what I'm doing here. Okay. So I'm going to take those 2 wires and bring them both up like so, okay, like 2 TV antennas, and then I want to crisscross them over the top point of that bead, okay? So you've got that kind of triangle shape, okay? Now we want to decide one of these wires, it doesn't matter which one, but we want to decide which one of these wires is going to go straight up and down. I'm just going to pick one, use my pliers, and bend it straight up, and then the other one I want to very carefully come in and bend out this direction, okay? Now, the one that is bending out this direction is the one we're gonna wrap around with. So I'm gonna just hold on to that little triangle section with my pliers. Again, another place where your bent chain nose pliers is gonna be a really good fit for this, okay? And I'm just gonna wrap around the straight section of wire once, twice, and this time instead of going upwards, I'm actually going below the wrap that we just made. Now it makes it a little bit trickier because now if I want to kind of fill in some more of that triangle, I'm going to have to hold the wire on the opposite side, right? So normally we're holding here next to the bead, but we're going to hold up here, and that's going to give me a little bit better grip so that, and it is a little tricky here, want to wire wrap around that triangle. I'm not going to fill the entire triangle in, but you can see how I'm kind of covering up at least the top portion of that. And because this is 20 gauge wire, I am, I'm going slow because this is thicker wire, way different feel to it than the 24 that we were using. And you can see I'm just kind of filling in, right? Use your fingers, okay? So I filled in just right up to the top of that bead, okay? I'm not over the top of the bead. You can, if you want to just continue to wire wrap all the way around the top of the bead to give it a little wire wrapped cap, you certainly can do that, but that's all I'm gonna do is just a couple of wraps that way, okay? And I'm gonna come in with my cutter tool and trim off that tail. And I did not get that short enough. Okay, now I'm going to wire wrap this to our little component, the one that has the 2 holes, okay, our little connector. So I'm going to come in with my chain nose pliers. I'm going to grab that wire and just bend it out that direction, okay? So I'm kind of bent out towards the front here because we want our loop to go, we want to see the front of the loop, not the side of the loop, right? So that we can attach it to our connector. And I'm not going to use a jump ring or anything to do that. I'm going to come in with my round nose pliers and create our loop, okay? And before I wire wrap, I want to thread the tail end of this through our connector. And you got to kind of decide like which direction, which side of your little connector that you want facing forward. So you may have to take it out and redo it if you don't have it facing the right direction, okay? But now it's attached and I'm just gonna wire wrap, right? I'm just gonna fill in, and I might overlap some of those wire wraps that are already there. I don't know, we'll just see what happens. I do wanna come in though with my bent chain nose pliers. Again, that's gonna be the best tool to use to kind of get in there so that you have some room. Just messy wrap that if you want to. It doesn't have to be like the most perfect wrap in the entire world, right? I like that messy look. I did accidentally turn my loop though. Okay, so that's what we've got. I'm going to trim off my tail. Okay, Now I'm just going to use a jump ring to attach this to our component here. And as far as jump rings are concerned, I'm using a jump ring that is kind of in the same colorway. This jump ring is what you normally, if you're shopping for jump rings, is going to be considered like your antique silver color jump rings. They just don't have that white element that, you know, a bright silver jump ring has, and that's really the perfect match for the pewter components. Whereas I feel like you can mix them with your regular, you know, bright silver if you want to, but then you notice the jump rings quite a bit more. I'm all about like my hardware disappearing into things. All right, so that's going to be our little centerpiece. We're just going to add a couple more things to this. So I've got one of the other little drops here. It's really beautiful. It has like a rose on it and like some flower petals. I'm going to attach that with a couple of different jump rings here just because I want it to hang a little lower. So I'm going to use a series of 3 of those 6mm jump rings. I'm going to hang that right next to the one we just attached. Okay, so that's going to hang just like so. And then I've got one more of these little drops I want to hang on here as well. And let's see here, got a couple of jump rings. What happened to my jump rings? These guys. So my small drop doesn't need to be wire wrapped necessarily. A jump ring will fit right through there. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay. And again, he's got extra jump rings, so he's going to hang just a little bit longer. I don't want him just right up on the component. You guys, I love movement, so I give that extra length with those 6mm jump rings. Uh-oh, having a hard time getting this on there. Open that jump ring up enough. Okay, so this is what we've got in the front of this. Will be our centerpiece of our necklace. So we've got these beautiful crystals, we have these really beautiful charms, and that's going to hang from our pearls. So remember these guys? I'm going to attach these with 6mm jump rings as well, and then we're going to work on our top additions here. We're going to wire wrap this little drop. You can do it with just a jump ring if you want to, but I am going to show you how to wire wrap the smaller drop with another piece of that tinned copper artistic wire. I can't wait for you guys to see this necklace on the bust. It looks so different hanging than it does laying flat. Like a lot of times with the pieces that we make, you can get really kind of a good idea of how they're going to look when they're laying down. This is not one of those. This one looks very much like a hot mess until you put it on the bust so that you really can see how everything hangs and the balance of everything. Okay, just another jump ring here for the other side. Okay. All right, so let me drop this out just a little bit so we can move up here to this part. Unfortunately, you can't see the entire piece all in one shot. That's another reason why the bust helps so much. But I'm going to attach both ends to the smaller rings, okay, from TierraCast. And I also want to add just extra little drops to one of these. Not on both sides, just on one side. We're going to add our drop and another one of those cute little charms. And so I'm going to use some jump rings to do that. We'll go ahead and attach our pearls to the rings first. We'll wire wrap that little drop real quick. And the length portion of this necklace is just going to be some Rolo chain. Now, this would look beautiful with leather, okay? So if you don't want to use chain for the long length portion of this, leather, sari ribbon in like a muted kind of pastel color, any of that is going to look beautiful with this. I just thought that chain was the easiest. You guys know usually when I get to the length portion of a necklace, like my creativity kind of takes a back seat and I'm like, okay, what's the most functional thing? What's functional and not going to take away from the beauty of what we already have? Let's see, I'm missing a piece of my wires, so I'm going to cut another piece here. And again, just using the 20 gauge. Wow, that was a really big piece. Sharon wants to know how many times you wrapped the pearls. 3 or 4 times. So I just did 3. You can do 4 if you want to, but you know, 3 was really just kind of what room I had based on my pliers. So I kind of let the pliers do the measuring for me. All right, so again, we're just going to wire wrap this guy like we did the other one. This one just is a little bit smaller, so we do have to be a little careful with this guy. We don't want to crack him by any means. So taking the wires here, going to crisscross them just like antennas up here at the top. And I'm going to wire wrap him directly onto the component just because of the positioning of him. I don't want to risk losing him, so I'm not going to put him on a jump ring. Gosh, you guys know, like, everybody's guarding their Swarovski crystals with their lives right now, so definitely no jump rings here. We're gonna use just plain old wire wrapping to keep this guy safe. And again, just kind of messy around. Doesn't have to be anything super fancy unless you just really want it to be super fancy and nice and neat, I guess is kind of what I'm trying to say here. So we've got that, right? And we're just going to create a loop. And this time our loop needs to be a little big so that it will clear our component, right? So that guy's a little bit bigger than the loops that I normally make. And we want to thread him on to the component, and then we will wire wrap him. Just want to make sure that he's going to be hanging the right direction. Yes. All right. Again, bent chain nose pliers is really going to help get in there to wire wrap that around. Just some of that chunky monkey wire wrap. Just using up that whole piece that I had. And trim that off. Okay. So there's that guy. And last but not least, we're going to put another one of these adorable little TierraCast components right next to it, just to kind of bring everything full circle, I guess, if you will. And then we're just going to add our chain to this, and you guys will be able to see this on the bust. And if you guys don't have these exact pieces, that's okay, right? You're going to be able to shop for the pieces if you love them, of course. You know, but you can always improvise with what you've already got in your stash. You don't have to spend a lot of money to recreate one of the designs that I show you guys. Sharon says, do you know what size millimeter the TierraCast rings are? I can tell you super quick. So these ones are 12, looks like 12 millimeter, 11 and a half, 12, because they're not perfect circle. But so the smaller ones are like, you know, a 12 millimeter, and then the larger one down here on the bottom is a 20 millimeter. All right, now we're ready to add our chain and call it done, you guys. We're gonna call it done. Already attached my jump rings here on the ends. So I'm just gonna open those up and add our component. Close that back. Okay. And that's it. I already attached just a lobster clasp up here. What is that ruler called? So this is just a little slide gauge. And you just, you know, what is the name of these? I can never remember. I have two that are metal, and then I have a digital one. I never can remember what the actual name of them is. A caliper. That's what they are, a caliper. And this one's from Beadalon, is really inexpensive, but you can get super crazy expensive ones. But, and like I said, I've got a digital one that I love, but honestly, it's easier for me just to grab, the handheld one and just take a look. Super, super handy though, because you can measure all kinds of things with it. So I definitely, if you don't have one of these in your stash, I definitely recommend it. Like, it's not an absolute necessity, but it is definitely helpful to have. All right, guys, I'm going to turn you around and we'll put this on the bust so that you can see this hanging. Also going to adjust the... Let me know if... Joan, I will hook you up. Remind me. Remind me if I see you next week. I've got an extra one. All right, you guys. So let me know if the sound is okay. And I'm going to hold this up for you guys to see just how pretty this is. I'm a huge fan. I guess you would call this like a charm style necklace. I'm not really sure like what the official term for the design is here, but you can see wiggle, wiggle. Do I need to wiggle more? So I already wiggled it once. Okay, now, okay, good. All right, so there you go, guys. You can see we've taken, we're staying on trend, right, with the pearls, but we didn't use a ton of them. So keep that in mind when you're going to do your pearl shopping. Like, try to shop for pearls in a way like these little cards where there's more than one strand. Try to shop for them in the way that you're going to get the most bang for your buck, because number one, pearls are going to be on trend, but number two, remember, we also consider our pearls like classic pieces that are always, even when the trend is over, pearls are always going to be a classic staple in your arsenal of beads, or your hoard. In my in my world, it's a hoard, right? But I try to buy in a way that, is the most cost effective, and you don't have to use an entire strand, I guess is what I'm trying to say with a lot of words here. Shortened. You don't have to use a lot to create a beautiful pearl piece that your customers or whoever it is, or just yourself, like I can tell you, this is mine. I'm not giving this one away. That's why I use this Swarovski in it, because like this one's mine. But if I were making this for customers, I'm still on trend with the pearls, but I didn't have to use a ton of them, right? So there you go, guys. I hope you like it. I think it's beautiful, and I really am a huge fan of the addition of just the one-sided, extra kind of charms to this. I think it really takes it to a whole nother place. So I hope you have enjoyed it. She says, let's see, not she, I'm sorry. It is a she, it's Sharon. Sharon says this would look good with coin pearls. It would. You could do this with any of your pearls, guys, even your glass pearls. You don't even have to use pearls for this. Round beads of any variety. This style is going to look good no matter what. And remember, you can change this up here. If you don't want to use chain as the length, you can use whatever you want to. I think leather would look beautiful with that, but we used leather last week, so I kind of was trying to give you a little bit something different this week. I definitely have a style, so it's hard for me to not like repeat the same kind of looks over and over again with you guys. I try to keep it, I try to keep it mixed up as much as I can. Thank you. I'm so glad you like this one. I feel like it's a really beautiful, beautiful design. And it's the TierraCast components that really just kind of take it to a whole nother level. So definitely be on the lookout for those, you guys. They're absolutely worth it. The quality is amazing. So grab some TierraCast stuff and just put it in your put it in your stash and save them for your most beautiful pieces, right? Use your chain because chain is a dime a dozen. I mean, I don't like to diss on chain, but you know what I mean? Like, I save my TierraCast stuff for like real special pieces. All right, guys, that is it for me today. Just today. You guys will see me again, not tomorrow. You can see me on the Jewel Loom Facebook Live tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern time. But you guys can catch me again on Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern right here. I'll have another project for you guys. I don't even know what it's going to be yet, but it'll be something fun. I'm going to figure that out here in just a few minutes. And don't forget, if you have not signed up for the email list, please do so. If you've not signed up for the Sarah Ellis Designs Community Facebook group, please do that as well. You guys send some love over to all of the great people at TierraCast. Let them know that you love them and I got to see a fun project with me today. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me, giving some love to some of our fellow friends out in the industry. All right, guys, that's it. Have a wonderful, wonderful afternoon, and I will see you guys, not tomorrow, but the next day. Bye, guys. Love you.